So today's video is going to be all about how to identify your ideal audience and create that buyer persona so that we can be more intentional with the types of content that we are creating. And I couldn't be more thrilled because finally they have released the NAR 2024 Home Buying and Selling Generational Trends report. So this report is something that we study relentlessly because it really dives deep into just the motivation behind why people are buying and selling. And it's a wide net of questions that are asked. Now, I always poke holes in the questions and the surveys that are provided because when it's a multiple choice exam and depending on where I say exam, survey, depending on where those questions are put in the survey, there are times where there's not like a clear cut answer of why I chose, say, this lash lady over a different lash lady. It would be hard to identify for myself if I were given a survey of what was the deciding factor. Some of it, I would probably say it was a referral for my sister. I thought her lashes looked great. And I thought, okay, I know other people that use this lady. I checked her out online. The pictures looked all right. But there's usually not like one determining factor. It's a combination of things. And so there is some grace that I give to these surveys because depending on how the questions are asked, and how many were either open-ended or multiple choice, it at least gives us some insight behind those who are buying and selling. And small disclaimer, this is from a national standpoint and is also why I really encourage you all to look at your own personal data. Hopefully we're all using a CRM and there's some patterns or some trends that you can look for within your own data. And you know what? If you haven't been keeping up with that, then perhaps look at this report and look at some of the things that maybe you could measure to then start keeping track of that data and create your own home buying report for yourself and your team, because this is the single most important thing we can do as content creators and having a personal brand. We have to know, who are we creating content for? Who do we want to be seen by? Because the quicker we can identify those answers, then the more valuable content or educational content that we can create that's really going to help them. We have to get inside their heads, like what things would be valuable to them. Well, we have to know who's them, who are they? And so I figured we would start with this little game. I want you to try to guess who. Okay, do y'all remember that was it called Guess Who? And it had all those little like cards sticking up and you had to try to guess, okay, is he wearing glasses? And if the answer was no, then you take everybody who isn't wearing glasses and you put them down. You guys know what I'm talking about? It was like blue and red. I think it was called Guess Who. But I had made a post about this. Gosh, it was probably beginning of the year. And so I want you to guess who I'm talking about. And the reason why we're doing this little fun game is because this is how most people will guide you through identifying a buyer persona to target your ideal audience. So I'm a male. I was born in 1948. So that means you're around 76, I believe. I was raised in the UK. I've been married twice. I live in a castle and I am wealthy and famous. Now, obviously this could be a lot of people, but if I show you my screen, it could have been King Charles or it could have been Ozzy Osbourne, because both of these typical buyer persona characteristics. So most people target demographics. They think that means their buyer persona. So age range, gender, location, marital status, but that's not enough. We have to dive deeper into the psyche. So what are the personality traits? Do you think their lifestyle choices are drastically different? Like if I wanted to target content that I think would be extremely valuable to King Charles, would it look and feel different than someone who was trying to create for the same type of demographic data, but for Ozzy Osbourne? I'm talking from like even the imagery to our tone and our message architecture, that would all be different. So how do we get into the psyche of our ideal client? This is why having your borrower and agent conversations, there is so much to be had, even just from increasing your like truth antenna on being a better social listener online, to look at, okay, what are the personality traits of those who have chosen you as their lender? Is there a pattern there? What about their lifestyle choices? You can find a lot on bank statements, guys. Y'all see the dirty laundry of people. What about their interest and hobbies? Do you do any kind of all about you form? And does that form include any of these things to gain more insight of what the core values are to the people that you serve? Or is it just what's your favorite drink? Where's your favorite restaurant to go to? What's the type of music you like to listen to? So for those of you who already have that form, maybe take a snapshot. Oh, looks like it was posted on January 4th. So that gives you a frame of reference. Now, depending on when you're watching this, you may have a lot of scrolling to do because we do try to post every single day. But integrating some of these elements beyond just the demographic is really going to help us be more intentional with the types of content that we post. And these are, if you remember, this is also something that we had posted. Before you make content, I want you to think about, who is this for? What is the purpose of this post? Is it to entertain? Is it to educate? Do I have a call to action? Why is it important? Where should people go next? How does it benefit your audience? And then when is my audience active? And guys, I will tell you, we are not posting enough personal content. I am seeing way too many accounts where I see too many of our posts that we've created all in a row, and not enough of your own personality, core values, hobbies, interests. So the same thing that I just showed you about the psyche of who are you trying to attract, which, remember what I said earlier, we typically attract that which we are. We've got to up the personal content game. People do business with people like them or people that they know and trust. And guys, we trust people who are like us, who value things like us. And I'm seeing a lot of stale. It's better than nothing. Don't get me wrong. At least you have our educational content there for social proof. And it's things that people can screenshot and they can share. But we've got to get out from hiding. This is why every Monday I encourage you all to do your time block. This is part of how we integrate social media within our workflow, where it's not a distraction, yet it's done in a way that helps us be more productive. But there's a structure to it, and people want to know you. The biggest compliment is when you go somewhere and someone's like, gosh, I feel like I already know you. That's fantastic. Because a lot of what used to happen on a traditional sales call, the whole Ford, like family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, I think that's right. People can now discover and learn from you online, and vice versa. So a lot of you who run teams and you're recruiting, you guys also, like, we all look at social to sniff, test, and creep on, who do I want to hire? Who would I want to work with me? Who would I want to recruit? Do I like them? That is one of the biggest aspects, is, would I want to spend time with them? Do I like them? Do they make me a better person? Can I learn from them? Do they inspire me? And so I just did a spot check because we finished Q1 of all of our top of mind and influencer clients, and then a handful of our awareness and basic people. Haven't gotten through all of them. And there's just, guys, there's not enough. You need to times it by 4 of what you're doing on social, because it's like branded post, branded post, branded post. Now, if you were interjecting videos in between where I at least see your face, if you look at Plug and Play's social media, which, remember, this is my business account, so it's not a personal account. You don't see a whole lot of anything personal on this account. That's for a reason. I have a different strategy of what I'm working on with this. But even still, I'm going to pull up my page. There's enough of me, these cutouts. And guys, it's probably been a year since I've done photos. I need to do another photo shoot where I have all these different photos of me pointing in different directions. But I have enough of me, my face, my eyeballs. That builds trust. Because what is the alternative? It could have been a stock photo, but the stock photo, it doesn't make it feel like it's me. And so even though, like, here's another one. You'll see it's all from the same photo shoot day, but a lot of you were limited to the stock photos because we don't have lifestyle photos like this that we can put in the background to diversify your content. So it ends up feeling like a lot of, see all of this where there's none of me. You can tell I had been traveling, but then you start to see more. And then when I was on my kick of doing 3 to 4 videos a week, it starts to feel more like me. And the videos help you guys like feel my conviction. You feel my energy. There's only so many of these, like they all start to look alike, and I do try to space them out, but there's only seeing me in action like this, seeing me present, seeing me on podcasts and webinars. That's important because people want to see you doing the things that you want to be seen and known for. So homework assignment number 1 is we got to up our personal content game. You get to choose what it is that you share. But if you spot check your feed and you see more than 3 or 4 branded posts in a row without a single video or without some kind of live, like not a photo shoot, maybe a webinar, maybe a podcast, maybe you attending an educational event, we got to mix up the feed because it's going to feel a little stale. And the perception to the consumer, is this you? Do you have a company doing this for you? How do I know if I DM you, am I going to get you to respond? So that's number one, because it doesn't matter who your ideal audience is. We do business with humans. We trust humans, not the company anymore. Yes, the company is a factor. So that doesn't, like, the name on the front of the jersey is a factor. But more importantly, if they're choosing you, they want to know why you. And guys, for some of you, that answer is because of you. Y'all could all be given the same Monday video script, but the way you deliver it with a little bit of personality, maybe it's a little bit of sass, maybe it's a little bit of like compliant officer talk. Whoever you are, that's what your unique factor is. But we don't do business with robots. Quit making your account look like a robot, okay? Now, when diving into your persona and trying to figure out like who is it that you're wanting to attract, think of it from an agent standpoint. Is there a certain type of referral partners that you gravitate towards? Like, are they individual agents? Are they on a big team? Is it a male, female? Is it someone that's in your community? Like, these are all very valid and possible people that you're naturally attracting. But if you don't take the time to look at your own data, then I'm going to call BS on you, because how do you know? We usually don't. So I'm going to share my screen. This is something that I've taught. You guys have probably seen quite a bit, but I think this worksheet or this exercise will help you identify the overwhelming question of who do you want to be seen by? There's all different types of buyers. We have move-up buyers. We have downsizers. We have relocation buyers. We have divorcees. We have new construction. We have reverse. We have VA. There's all types of segments. How are you identifying who it is that you want enjoy to serve, like lights you on fire, that if someone said, this is what I want you to do for the rest of your life, like we want you to be on this team, what is it that you would be like, that I'm in, it sets me on fire? Because I know the types of people that we don't want to work with and the types of accounts that we fire. And if you're rude, I don't want to work with you. If you don't give good advice, I don't want to work with you. If you make my life miserable and if I see that you've called or DM'd me or texted me and I'm like, ugh, then guess what? I fire clients. And it's liberating, because then I can work with all of you who I love to work with, and I can see your name and I'm like, hell yeah. Okay. So take a screenshot of this worksheet here. And I want you to think about your top 3 avatars. I just listed a whole bunch of the different types of buyers. Yes, we need to know a little bit about their demographic, but I also want to know, what was the felt need of the client that was the symptoms that are building up that then cause them to say, you know what, this house is too small. Like, what is going on in their world or their life? Or for them to be like, I think this house is too big. Or if they're relocating, we have to identify the symptoms, and then you take it a little bit deeper. And then what is the final trigger, that root cause that's, you know what, we are going to start looking. And the first person that comes to my mind is my niece. Does everyone have a screenshot of this? Let me move my mouse so that I can take it off the screen. So the next would be goals. What are their goals? So once they've hit that trigger and they're like, all right, I'm going to apply. What is it that they're looking for? And what do they value most? Is it payment? Is it rate? Cash to close? Is it a neighborhood? Is it a commute for a job? And then I want you to, what is the solution? Ultimately, guys, problem solution. What are the problems that clients are facing that gets bad enough that triggers them to be like, I'm done with this 2.5% rate, where I don't care if I have to go to a 7% rate. I'm tired of this house, or I'm tired of this location, whatever it is. Okay. Back to my story. So my niece, she had owned a property, and her husband now had owned a property. They ended up moving in together once they got married, and now they have a little boy who is about 8 months old, adorable, but they're living in his townhome. Now, both properties had been refinanced. They are super low interest rates. And truth be told, when they were first running numbers, like in their mind, they thought, okay, if we sell both of these homes that have appreciated a great amount, surely we would be able to afford twice the size of a home that we're living in and be around the same payment. So they were looking at about an $800,000 home, and they wanted their payment to be less than $3,000 a month. And for those of you who may not know, our property taxes and homeowners insurance in Texas, half their payment would be eaten up by just taxes and insurance. So that was very unrealistic. Both my sister and I had through multiple mortgage calculations, and yes, I still have a mortgage calculator on my phone, and I'm just like running the numbers for them to like see this is not going to be possible. And they were blown away that you mean with even putting 500,000 down, our payment is close to 4,500, 5,000 a month. And I'm like, yes. And to them, that was like ludicrous. Now, given some time, probably 12 to 15 months later, as of today, they just went live, they listed their homes, and they're going to buy a new one. And so it was a matter of what was it that the symptoms had gotten bad enough that then a trigger occurs where they're like, you know what? We can't afford more. Like this townhome with a new baby that's now starting to crawl. So this is what's going on in their world for it to become painful enough to say, we're selling these homes, maybe dumb, we should probably keep them. They don't care. That house is too small. And quite frankly, he's tired of her bitching all day because he comes home from work and she's been stuck with the baby all day, and there's stairs and the play area and the kitchen's upstairs, and the baby's getting heavier, and now he's starting to move and it's stressful, and he's just tired of her bitching and complaining, and he's thinking, oh, I worked this hard, what are we doing? Like life is too short, right? Let's be happy. That's what's going on in their world. This helps drive more meaningful messages. So why am I sharing all of this? It's because the new NAR generational trends report just came out finally, and I was dissecting it and looking at it, and I'll make sure to share it here as a resource in the lender marketing link, but also I'll share my screen. And this is part of what we're doing. Like we are dissecting, and I already started to make note. Now it just came out today. Like I had a trigger so that as soon as this start, because it's usually the end of March, but it was very clear of a general pattern of the top percentage of people who bought last year, which were not baby boomers as a whole. If we separate older and younger boomers, it was actually the Gen Xers. They're married, they're usually straight, so not bisexual, gay, transgender, but Caucasian. Incomes around like 100 to 150,000, usually above 100,000. Education was all over the map. And so I'll just share this with you guys. That way you have the weekend to take some time to really dissect this. And for those of you who have no data of your own, because maybe you're not keeping up with the CRM, this will at least give you some insight from a national standpoint. And again, not that this may be your ideal audience, because maybe you're trying to build the wealth gap with minorities, which is a real segment. Or maybe you had a special needs sibling, and so you happen to know sign language. And so you're targeting people who want to buy homes who are deaf. That's a real, there's a market for that. Or blind. Who helps people buy homes that are blind or deaf or diabetic? Children who are handicapped. Think about this with going after certain markets. Like you could be the only one, the only expert in that area because of something that you've been through or your family's been through. Back to the report. So this just, again, shows you, this is how they have segmented. They broke up millennials and boomers from younger boomers to older boomers because these demographics are so large. And for those of you targeting Gen Zs, guys, that only made up 3% of the buyers and sellers last year. It's going to be a struggle for Gen Z. So I don't know how much time I would spend nurturing Gen Z personally. I would probably stick with anyone who's born from 1980 and above. Okay. So this shows you in the light blue, these are the buyers. So you can see the largest demographic was Gen X. Now, technically, if you add millennials together and boomers together, I believe the millennials would win. Let's just see. Yes, I'm going to use a calculator. 21 plus 17 is 38. And then boomers were 19 because it's the light blue plus 12. Yeah. Okay. So millennials as a whole, the year before it was the boomers as a whole that were the largest demographic that bought and sold. So in 2023, it's the millennials. Okay. So let's dive deeper. This just gives you a bunch of general statistics, a conclusion, but here's what I wanted to see. So here's just the buyers, the median age in the group, So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 51 was the average for the largest. So really think about what's going on in a 50-year-old's life. Do they have kids starting to graduate college? What would cause them to move? Is it a career upgrade or downgrade? It's just interesting. And then even looking at millennials, so around the 30 and 38 range, that's when people are getting married, they're having kids. So what things are they researching online? What are their stressors? What are their desires? You'll see most of them had a home to sell. So that probably means that starter home that they bought was no longer fitting their needs. And it could be because they need something bigger. It could also be because now they have a big boy or girl job and they don't want to have to commute as far. I think we underestimate the commuting aspect. So let's look at this. Household income. So again, the 44 to 48-year-olds, that was the largest demographic. And if you look here, so it looks like 22% had an income of 200 or more. Wow. But look at where the second majority lies, the 100 to 125. So this gives us a good indication. Now, most, again, were married. So this is dual income. So what types of things are these people interested in if they earn about 100 to 150 or more? What kind of wine do they like? What kind of hobbies? What concerts are they going to? Are they video gamers? What are their pastimes? Okay, again, you'll see married couples were pretty high. I mean, this is probably pretty logical that why this one wouldn't be as high because there's probably not as many people married in this category. But if I'm creating content, not that I'm going to not have some single images, but it is a clear identifier that most in every single demographic, this is just 1% off. They're married. Number of children under the age of 18. Now this one, I'm thinking people probably read the question wrong because for none, I guess it's possible, but you would think these age groups, like you're telling me none of them had any kids from 25-ish to 59 under the age of 18 living in the home. I guess if you add these up, 1, 2, 3 or more, yeah, that makes more sense. So maybe I was reading it wrong. So most of them have kids under the age of 18, 1 or 2. There's only a few crazies out there that have more than that. All right, so now let's look at the home purchased was a multi-generational home. I don't think this will be a huge surprise that when you look at this age group, 33% was because of aging parents. Guys, there is a wave of, I think they called it the silver tsunami coming. We know the baby boomers is a large demographic, and unfortunately, part of the life cycle is that we may live in eternity, but our body ends up dying. And so what happens to those homes? And is also why I'd be asking every single buyer that falls into this age group, I would be asking them, tell me about your parents. How's their health? What do they have set aside for retirement or for disability? It's okay to ask that. Asking those questions shows that one, you don't ask the typical questions that most loan officers ask. And it also shows you care about their overall, like, how do we help people buy homes that actually funds a lifestyle? Not just, sometimes we say generational wealth and there's no emotional attachment there. Okay, this is what I meant by how many identify as straight, gay, transgender. So it shows most were heterosexual or straight. Okay, so married people that have kids that are straight, that are Caucasian. Okay, let's look at 44. So it looks like we were tied for Hispanic and African American for the second demographic here. Kind of all over the place. I know sometimes, especially for some of our minority clients, they want more minority people in their stock photos. Know that when we're creating content, we're trying to identify the eyeballs that are most in reach of being potential clients. So if you're someone listening to this and you're like, but I don't want a bunch of Caucasian people in my photos, then I would say, A, send us more of your photos or let us know. But that's the why behind why we do it. Education. So it does look like there's quite a few with the master's degree or at least a bachelor's degree. It's all over the place. Clearly, most speak English. Most were born in the US. This shows how many in each age group. Not a huge surprise that more veterans were older. This is how many. So in this age group, only 24% were first-time home buyers. That's what I mean by most had a home to sell. That was their previous living situation, or they were renting an apartment or house. These are the drivers, the symptoms. What was the primary reason? What's the bigger why? So for the largest age group with the most buyers, it was a desire to own a home of their own. This is also what's confusing because most of them already owned a home. So of those that didn't own a home, I would guess it was for a larger home, which would make sense because they were probably having children. And then also their family situation had changed. So marriage, death, divorce, births. I'll let you guys go through this in more detail. Let's see this one, larger home, job related. But the other item I wanted to show y'all is characteristics of the home. Oh, this was very interesting. The distance between the home purchased. If you were to just look at millennials, it's at max 20 miles apart from where they currently live. I thought that was interesting. This one I remember looking at. So quality of the neighborhood was really important, but then also convenient to job. So that was the second kind of most popular one that I saw. Just commute, especially if it's not a forever home for these people. Size of home, number of bedrooms, environmental friendly. Factors that could cause buyer to move. But this was interesting too. Move with life changes, but then look at what's second. Move with job or career change. Want a nicer home. So there's still like this to me is like opportunity. If you know it's not their forever home, I'm curious, like what would the next home need to have for it to be nicer or have more of the features that they want, or even a larger home? Again, this is just good incubation and nurturing information. I promise I'm about to show you, length of search. So look like on average about 10 weeks, guys. If you don't have a nurturing campaign to stay in front of your leads for at least 10 weeks, guys, that's the average we're seeing here. I wanted to find the buyer's rep agreement because they did have that in here. Satisfaction. All right, here we go. Method of home purchase. Agent rep disclosure, but buyer's rep agreement with the agent. Look at this. A lot of them said no or didn't know. Like when you add those together, I was also surprised how many had a written agreement, but then also look at how they were compensated. Percent of sales price was the highest number. Paid by seller. This seems off. Paid by buyer only. I don't know about that. What buyers want most from real estate agents. This would be great when you're working with your agents and helping with articulating their value. It's important to know what is it that people want? What do they desire? Clearly, the most obvious would be finding the right home. So how do we do that? What things do they do? Are they part of off-market groups? Is there something that their brokerage has? And then look at what's typically next. Negotiating terms. There's 24 different terms to negotiate that buyers agents. If you guys don't have that list, let me know, but there's 24 different areas to negotiate beyond the 90 plus tasks that buyers agents do. Also help with the paperwork was very important. Now, this one, benefits provided by real estate agent during the process, helped buyer understand the process. Look how high that is. Clearly navigating with escrow or attorney and appraisal and ordering inspection and knowing who to call for an inspection. People value that. Negotiated a better price, improved buyers' knowledge of search areas. That's where experience matters. Here, this is the one. Most important factors when choosing an agent's experience, honest and trustworthy, considered very important. Still haven't found what I'm looking for. Importance of communication. I'll see it on here. Keep looking. Most important factors, number of agents. Maybe it was on the seller side. Anyways, okay. So that's it, guys. We need to know, who do you want to be seen by? Who are the people buying? What products or solutions do you have that best solve these people's problems? What are their problems? What are their desires, their goals? What's going on with their life? What are the triggers of when it's like enough is enough? If we don't have clarity on who it's for, then we risk creating content that we think is valuable and it's not landing on people. So we always want to be positioned as the educator. I was DMing with someone that had asked me, like, how do I get more likes like this chick's reel that she posted? And she was a cute chick using a trending audio and a cute little dance. And I'm like, not all views are the same. Not all likes and followers are the same. I really want to help y'all do more with less, go deeper than wider, and be seen by the right people, backed up by the right sales process. That's why you'll see in our battle plans every day of the week, we have a marketing activity and a sales activity, because otherwise none of this matters if we're not converting and earning, right? So we can't neglect the sales activities. We have to have those standards of how many agents are we meeting with a week. And if you don't, What's your consequence? How many open houses are you going to? Otherwise, social media doesn't just put a band-aid over no sales. You still have to do the work and pick up the phone or DM and set appointments and close people. Social media helps because they can get to know you, but you got to ask for the business. And if they say no, their loss. Move on because you know your worth. And if you question whether or not you would be the best, most valuable player in their life, then we got some work to do. Let's up the skills game because you got to own that belief. And then you won't take it personal if they don't choose you. It's their short sight. And there's too many that aren't as good as you getting your business. I want you to get pissed off about it because that's your best to serve that client or that agent. And if you're not, then damn it, let's get you there. All right. Okay. Y'all take care.